In this video, I want to talk to you about a clear winner, an AI stock that is going to massively benefit from the next huge AI wave that is coming. And that AI wave is agentic AI. It is the deployment of AI agents everywhere, inside of enterprises, inside of massive companies, just deployed everywhere. And it fundamentally shifts the AI stack. And there are companies that will directly benefit from the deployment of these agentic AI nodes. And so this is movement from the large language model, the training of AI models and all those kind of things, and how we're currently using it to agentic AI. And then ultimately there's inference AI as well. So we're going to talk about a clear winner in this video. So please do me a huge favor. Please hit that subscribe button and tell me what you like about this video. Drop in the comments below. Tell me what you like about the winner here, what I think the company that's going to massively win. All that is here for you. So let's jump into this. So I've created this graphic for you, and the company we're predominantly going to be talking about is AMD. All right. AMD is hands down poised and positioned to directly benefit from the next waves that are coming with AI, agentic AI, and inference ultimately. Okay. And it's a shift in the semiconductor market because historically, right now, what we've seen in the current training model phase, the LLM phase of AI, the company that is directly benefiting from that has been NVIDIA with the deployment of GPUs, and GPUs fit the nature of that kind of compute model. Okay. As we move towards agentic AI, we are now moving more into where we actually need CPUs, those types of processors. Yes, we're still going to need GPUs, but the CPU model is going to grow and become even bigger. And AMD, with their product offering of CPUs being very strong in that, and GPUs and everything else, plus systems and all that. Now you see this graphic says AMD versus Micron versus SK Hynix. I want to clarify something here, okay? I am not talking about selling your Micron or selling your SK Hynix. I am not talking about the fact that AMD beats Micron or beats SK Hynix, because it's almost like comparing apples to oranges, okay? But I wanted to give you a point of reference. I wanted you to understand that we have memory, Micron, SK Hynix, and that market, we all know, I've covered it on my channel quite a bit. That market has obviously a massive demand versus supply problem, all right? There's also a scenario playing out here as we see the deployment of agentic AI where AMD may start to run into that same type of bottleneck, which ultimately will drive AMD's prices higher. And ultimately, that bottleneck will create an even higher profit margin business for AMD as we see. Now, we'll see how that kind of flows as far as from a bottleneck standpoint. But remember that, keep that in the back of your mind. Where bottlenecks go, whether they are, there's massive opportunity. We're seeing it in memory. And I think that semiconductors with this shift to agentic AI is going to be the same kind of model. So again, I really want to stress, I am not talking about selling your Micron, selling your SK Hynix. I'm talking about using it as a point of comparison so that you understand the landscape, okay? So agentic AI is coming. We know that, right? So as we look at this next era, is specifically in the light of a lens or the light of AMD in that landscape, that's what we want to talk about. So let me zoom in on this just a little bit. So kind of in the upper left-hand corner, the next era is agentic AI. So we are moving from chatbots to autonomous agents. That's what agentic AI is, that can think, plan, and take action. And these will be deployed everywhere. And we're looking, guys, at almost a 1-to-1 ratio here of CPU, AMD CPUs, to a GPU, for example, NVIDIA, right? And or AMD, because they have GPUs as well. And then the networking component. And I gave you guys a video yesterday. There'll be a link at the end of this video where you can check out that networking component. We're not going to really get into this, but that networking component is also a massive opportunity, because these autonomous agentic AI agents will have literally a 1-to-1 ratio, CPU to GPU to networking. All this stuff really, is going to be literally real-time processing, okay? And it's going to increase the load dramatically, all right? So why CPUs in the middle become critical in agentic AI? Think of a GPU as a factory worker, excellent at massive parallel tasks like training and inference. Now, inference AI is also coming down the road. So again, AMD stands to benefit there. Okay, but GPU are factory workers. CPU is the factory manager. It coordinates tasks, manages memory, handles logic, input, output, OS, database, all that kind of stuff. the more AI agents you run, the more managers, CPUs you need. And remember, it's literally a 1-to-1 ratio, one CPU to one GPU to one to the networking component. What does that equal? Massive deployment of or need of AMD's CPU chips, okay? Which historically in the current training model phase of AI, we have not needed because it's been a very heavy GPU process compute scenario. Okay. On the right, make sure you guys can see this right above my head. You see agentic AI equals more infrastructure demand, really what I've talked about, right? It's scheduling, memory management, networking, all that, operating system, storage access, orchestration of tasks. CPUs orchestrate everything, okay? So GPUs are kind of the workers, the massive parallel tasks, okay? They're in the background, but CPUs are the managers. Again, think of them like that. So again, and then there's a 1-to-1 ratio, one CPU to one GPU to the networking component. All right. So lower left, really this is the heart of the video and what I want to talk to you about. Okay, AMD. As we see agentic AI start to be deployed, and this again is not going to be deployed, snap your hands and I'll be tomorrow. This is the next wave that is coming. And this is the next wave that everybody is not really talking about yet, but it is something that is there. And so getting into AMD, kind of like where we're seeing at the current price point, like right now it's trading at 519. It's down 5%. By the way, if you can't afford AMD at this price, there is absolutely excellent ETFs that give you exposure to AMD. But remember what an ETF is. It's a basket of different types of stocks. And there are AI semiconductor ETFs out there. But remember, you're diluting and spreading your risk across multiple companies in that ETF. Again, nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you that that's how it works. So AMD is currently trading at 519. And just to give you some Micron example, it's up 7%. Oh, excuse me, it's down 7%. My apologies. I always look at that and say it's up, but you got to look at the little arrow. Yeah, I know, Austin. Okay, it's down 7% today, currently trading at 901. And SK Hynix is on a tear today. It's up 27+%. Those are the main three we're talking about. Okay. So AMD on the left right here. Let me zoom in on this even more for you. There we go. That's probably better. Okay. AMD on the left. What does AMD do? Look, they design and they sell CPUs, GPUs, DPUs, and adaptive chips for data centers, enterprises, and AI workloads. That's really what they do. All right. So the biggest advantage that AMD brings to this party is that they have CPU and GPU exposure. Okay. They manufacture both types of those semiconductor chips. They're built for training, inference, and enterprise AI. Check, check, check. Right. As we look down the road to moving, into these different phases of AI, agentic, inference, so forth. They are less dependent on memory cycles, but it does not negate the need for memory, because memory is memory, and memory is a vital component of this workload as we see it. And by the way, as we move into agentic AI, that memory becomes a very core key component, even more so because of that processing and all that communication that has to happen. Okay, so just remember that. But also what AMD brings is they have software and software system ecosystem to go with their chips, their processors. Those are their advantages. Now, as far as a risk, they are competing with NVIDIA and GPUs. And by the way, NVIDIA is and has been moving into the CPU market as well. I'm just saying, right? So again, and I'm not negating NVIDIA's role in this. NVIDIA is a absolutely key component. I do own the NVIDIA stock, right? And so they're a key layer, a key competitor in this. But this video is really talking about how AMD is uniquely positioned as we roll into these additional eras, if you will, of AI. So why AMD stands out? They're a unique full stack AI platform. They have CPU, GPUs, DPUs, adaptive chips. They have the software and the system ecosystem behind it. Okay. They have leverage and training today and inference and agentic AI tomorrow. So they are part of the AI discussion and involved in obviously the training phase of AI, which is what we're in now. But also, again, they're primed and they're poised to be one of the major leaders associated with agentic AI and inference AI of tomorrow and down the road for the next 1, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And again, potential for durable growth and margin power. And I would also add that I've done some other videos on this. I think that we are now looking at potential an additional bottleneck, kind of like what we're seeing in the bottleneck with memory from a manufacturing standpoint, as we look out, and the amount of fabrication, the amount of manufacturing that's going to have to go on from the companies like NVIDIA's and AMD's and Intel's and all those different things associated with the sheer amount of chip demand for the deployment of agentic AI and inference AI. Remember, it almost moves to that 1-to-1 ratio, whereas before it was really more, obviously they needed way more GPUs from like companies like NVIDIA than they needed CPUs from companies like AMD. But as we shift to these different AI models, agentic and inference, remember, it literally becomes almost a 1-to-1 ratio. So that equates to more demand and more fabrication, more manufacturing for the CPU components, the CPU chips from companies like AMD. All right. So continuing to move on. All right. So again, I'm not going to get into, again, AMD versus SK Hynix. You can kind of take a look at right here. Let me move the picture of me over here. You can look at where Micron and SK Hynix fit in this role. Again, I created this graphic to give you some context so that you could understand the landscape of where AMD fits and how they fit, and then compare, contrast it to the memory sector, Micron, SK Hynix. I am not saying sell those and get out of them completely. There's massive opportunity, I think, upside for Micron and SK Hynix to go up dramatically as we continue to see. Again, we know about all those memory bottlenecks there. I brought them into phase and into this discussion because they are a bottleneck, and you needed to understand that and compare, contrast, have that discussion for, again, what I think is a oncoming bottleneck associated with the manufacturing specifically for CPU semiconductor chips from like AMD. And I think that that's going to be another massive opportunity where we have the disparity or the disconnect from how much supply is needed versus demand. Okay. And I think we're going to start to see that become more of a bottleneck. And again, that's why I brought this into play. All right. So look, the next massive wave, again, we talked about agentic mostly in this video, but lower left-hand corner, let me move the picture of me right here in the lower left-hand corner of this graphic, and I'll zoom in on it so you can even see it better, is the discussion about inference AI. Most of this video has been about agentic AI, but inference AI is also an AI wave coming. Training gets the headlines, but inference will be a much larger market over time. Billions of AI agents equal billions of inference requests. And it comes back to that constant communication. It comes back to that 1-to-1 ratio. A CPU, right? Go back up here. Remember our factory worker scenario? A CPU relationship where one CPU literally to one GPU. So think of it as one manager to one factory worker relationship, and then also that networking component. So that networking component is going to become crucial, and I'll do another video on that. So by the way, drop in the comments below if you like this, if you want me to cover AMD even more. I've got some of you guys that were requesting more AMD content on my channel, and I can start talking about the semiconductor market even more so, but you need to comment below. You need to tell me that's what you want me to do because you guys are actually helping me to build this community and build this channel associated with what you guys want. And I've been covering Micron and SK Hynix dramatically quite a bit, but if you want me to also layer in semiconductor, AMD, and things of this nature, and then also layer in additional, like, hey, markets that we haven't talked about, networking, energy, power production. These are all potential bottleneck markets as we continue to see north of $5.5+ trillion of AI CapEx dollars, dispersed as we roll towards 28 and 2030. Those dollars are already allocated. They're already out there in discussion for building these AI data centers, for building massive systems for big companies like General Motors and Ford and all these big enterprises, all that kind of stuff. So you need to, guys, let me know by dropping in the comments what you think and what you're looking for from me, because again, I'm building a community here. Also, final thought here, which was interesting, kind of looking at SK Hynix versus leading semiconductors and Micron and talking about kind of PE ratios. So let's talk about this. So like SK Hynix right now trades at a PE of 17.53, which is among the lowest. Okay. And remember, SK right now is having a pretty good day. It's up 27+% just in this recording and right now with this trading session. But I wanted to show you some other PE ratios. Micron's at 22, very close to SK, which is ironic given the price that we're seeing for both respectively. You know, SK is trading at 170 here in the States and 900 here in the States. Obviously, we know SK is a South Korean company. They also trade obviously in South Korea. And this is the United States price, if you will, on our markets. But again, right there. Okay. And Micron is 900 and AMD is 516. Okay. But look at the PE ratio for AMD, 186. Okay. That is a very high PE. It is. Okay. But I think ultimately we've got a lot of opportunity for AMD. They've got to meet and hit those forward-looking quarter, earnings and then future forward-looking guidance. But again, I will bring you back with final thoughts. As we see agentic and inference AI become more center stage, the people that will benefit from that, from an investment standpoint, are the people that understand fundamentally this equation and how agentic and inference AI are going to change the amount and the type of CPUs that are required, the amount, the processing. And most people don't understand that there's a difference in GPU versus CPU as it relates to AI. It's a different workload. It's a different type of environment, and it requires those different types of chips. And everybody's been focusing on NVIDIA. Again, I love NVIDIA. I own it. NVIDIA, I own it. But there's a shift coming, and that shift is coming where we were going to need way more of these CPU chips. And we're also still going to need a lot of GPU chips as well, because again, remember that 1-to-1 ratio, the manager to factory worker, CPU to GPU. And don't forget that networking component, because it's a constant communication. It's literally real time, constant. And then I would add into that, obviously there is the memory component, Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, that is standing there as well, parallel, in addition to all that. And all that memory, all that load on the memory is still going to become and still going to be as important. You need to understand that that's what the ecosystem is going to look like. It is a shift away from massive amounts of GPU to more of a 1-to-1 ratio. But also the fact, and what changes in the situation is the amount of CPU and GPU that you're going to need, because you're talking about massive deployments. Remember, there could be in a given one company 50,000 AI agents deployed in one company for internal processing, of workload and work. And think of a company like the size of GM or Ford, okay, as an example. And how many ultimate AI agents will they need? Remember, there's that CPU to GPU to memory to networking, that kind of, this scenario that you see right here in the middle, right? But it is the amount and how the workload's going to be used, or how that's going to work with all of these AI agents deployed in a given company, not to mention the hyperscalers, not to mention how that's going to look. So you're talking about a massive workload here that is going to have to be deployed, which brings us back to potential bottleneck for AMD even before it's happening. Okay, even before it's happened. And that's my goal with this video, is to give you insight in the fact that this is coming. This is a thing. It is coming. Agentic AI is going to change, and companies like AMD are standing there to benefit from that. All right. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. I appreciate you. Drop in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Please hit that subscribe, become part of the community, turn that bell notification on, and please hit that like so we can get this out here and you guys can help me grow the channel. I would greatly appreciate you. See you.